Avoidants are triggered by consistent, loving, affectionate partners. They feel emotionally unsafe with a loving partner, but they feel emotionally safe with a partner that is either emotionally unavailable or even toxic. There are reasons for this, and it varies depending on whether you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant. But they generally have the pattern of pushing away loving partners and committing and jumping into relationships with unhealthy partners. Let's get into it. Dismissive avoidance first. Dismissive avoidance grew up in households where they received consistent childhood emotional neglect. Their parents or caretakers did not give them the love and the nurturing in the way that they needed. These are often homes that are stable, but households where you don't talk about feelings. Households where children are meant to be seen and not heard. Their feelings were dismissed. If they expressed a negative emotion, it was rejected. If you're sad, go be sad in your room. And often they were only given love conditionally based on achievement. You got good grades, you get some affection. You hit the winning home run, you get some affection. But the message was sent, you're not lovable just as you are, only based on your accomplishments. So, fast forward to being an adult. They personalize this childhood emotional neglect. They grew up to feel unlovable, like there's something wrong with them. They put up these walls around their heart because their subconscious fear is, if I let down my walls, I'm going to be exposed as unlovable, defective, and I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be abandoned because they have a low self-esteem, all below the surface. They put the mask on. Not all of them do, but a lot of them put on the mask. They can seem confident in the workplace or things like that, but when it comes to a relationship, they feel unlovable and defective. And the way they keep themselves safe is by keeping their partner at an emotional distance, an emotional arm's length. Because if they don't let this person in, they won't risk getting exposed as being unlovable and defective as they perceive themselves to be. So, when they have a consistent, loving, affectionate, emotionally available partner, this is very triggering to them because in this relationship, emotional intimacy, emotional closeness naturally grows. The loving partner starts to poke through those walls, and the avoidant starts to actually feel something for this person. And they've learned that emotions are unsafe. They were never shown how to process it, so they learned to stuff it and bury it and avoid it. So here this person is poking through their walls, and now they're afraid that this person's going to figure out that they are too good for them, that the avoidant is unlovable and defective, and it causes them to feel a ton of anxiety. Being vulnerable feels unsafe, so they feel the urge to push this person away. They often don't know why, and that's because they've spent a lifetime suppressing emotions, not reflecting on things, and just avoiding and distracting themselves. But all they know is that something feels off and they feel the urge to run. And that's because the relationship is becoming real. There's emotional intimacy, there's disagreements, the partner's being authentic with them, there's commitment, expectations with a healthy partner, and it's just overwhelming. And it causes them a ton of stress and anxiety, which they don't have the tools to deal with. So the way they soothe is by creating distance and running away. But on the flip side, a partner that is emotionally unavailable, a partner that might even be toxic or narcissistic, is not triggering to the dismissive avoidant. And the reason for this is this person is also emotionally unavailable. The avoidant is emotionally unavailable, and the toxic person, or perhaps another avoidant, is emotionally unavailable. There is no threat of emotional intimacy in that relationship. It's surface level. They both get to keep their walls up and they're not vulnerable with each other. This causes the avoidant to feel safe with this person. They don't feel triggered because they don't have to open up. And this person's really not all that special. So being rejected and abandoned by this person is not that scary. So they get to keep their walls up, keep this person at an emotional distance. It feels safe. However, ultimately, those relationships tend to fail too because they're not fulfilling. And deep down, they long for that connection and love. So when that relationship ends, they go to find a partner that is emotionally available to get that connection. But when they get the connection, it triggers them again and they push that person away. Now, let's get into fearful avoidance. Fearful avoidance grew up in a household where they also received consistent childhood emotional neglect. But in addition to that neglect, they often grew up in chaotic, toxic households and perhaps even suffered traumas and abuse. Because of that, they develop both an anxious attachment style as well as a dismissive avoidant attachment style. The dismissive avoidant attachment style can be triggered by things like vulnerability, just like a regular dismissive avoidant would. However, there are other reasons why they gravitate towards toxic partners, especially narcissistic partners. Fearful avoidants are very prone to getting in relationships with malignant narcissists. And this goes back to their childhood. Toxicity was the norm. That's what they experienced. They often had parents that are narcissistic themselves. There is a comfort in familiarity. What you know feels safe. So that toxicity, it feels normal to them. When they meet a consistent, loving, emotionally available partner, it feels abnormal. They're not used to that. And they are hypervigilant due to the betrayal wounds that they received from their parents as a child. So they don't trust the loving partner. They believe that betrayal is inevitable, that this person can't really love me this way. They must be trying to manipulate me. They must be trying to use me. So they become hypervigilant, looking for inconsistencies to prove their preconceived notion that betrayal is imminent, and they self-sabotage and destruct the relationship with the loving partner because they don't feel safe. Also, the fearful avoidant, due to that toxicity, their nervous system often tricks them. They grew up with chaos and volatility. So when they meet a consistent, loving, emotionally available partner, it doesn't trigger their nervous system with anxiety. In reality, their nervous system is telling them that this person is safe. But the fearful avoidant misinterprets that as thinking this person is boring. They confuse the anxiety of a triggered nervous system with butterflies, excitement, and a spark. But they do find that spark and that excitement with a toxic partner because their nervous system, their subconscious, their unconscious mind is recognizing that this person is not emotionally safe. But the fearful avoidant mistakenly confuses that for being a spark, a chemistry. This person's exciting. The healthy person is boring. So they push away the healthy person, jump into the relationship with the toxic person. And the toxic person, especially a narcissistic person, triggers the fearful avoidance anxious side. So they chase this person, trying to earn the love from the emotionally unavailable person to resolve their childhood wounds. Because if they can earn the love from the toxic or emotionally unavailable partner, either narcissistic or sometimes a dismissive avoidant, they can resolve that childhood issue because psychologically it has the same effect as earning that love from the parent that never gave it. But it never works out that way. So they chase the emotionally unavailable partner. When they find the emotionally available partner, it feels boring and they push that person away. Or if they do get into a longer relationship, they tend to self-sabotage it due to those deep wounds of distrust. So what ends up happening with them is they tend to be in longer term relationships with unavailable partners, but particularly narcissists, and shorter term relationships, sabotaging relationships, even longer term ones still get sabotaged with the loving, emotionally available